You know, I think it's about time for another episode of... So today we're going to talk about one of my favorite Beatles songs, and it's called The Long and Winding Road, and it was on their album, Let It Be. So the album Let It Be was released in May of 1970, and it was released just a few weeks after the band's formal breakup. So it was their last official studio album that they released. And it has a lot of amazing hits like Let It Be and The Long and Winding Road, which we're talking about today. And an interesting fact about it is the album Let It Be was actually produced by a guy named Phil Spector. Now, for those of you who don't know, Phil Spector was an incredibly popular producer back in the 1960s for producing a bunch of the girl groups. Like, you know, with songs like The Locomotion, Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow, Be My Baby, that was all his signature sound. And he was known for this thing called the Wall of Sound, where he would record in a pretty small studio and use a ton of instruments all really close together. So you'd have this really complicated backing instrumentation that was really loud and really, it all sounded like one coherent sound, which is really cool and really popular. And so, of course, for the album Let It Be with the Beatles, he brought that wall of sound to them and used it on their album. But it caused problems with the song The Long and Winding Road, because Paul McCartney wrote the song, and he had it and he showed it to Phil Spector, and Phil Spector was like, you know what would be awesome with this? An orchestra. So what does Phil Spector do? After they record the song, he comes back by himself and adds the orchestra in without Paul McCartney's knowledge and releases it. And the song is phenomenal, but Paul McCartney sends him a letter and it's like, what the hell, Phil? I did not want this orchestra in here and I never asked for it. And Phil Spector's like, Paul, with all due respect, I am the most popular producer of all time. You needed the orchestra. So it depends. There are some Beatles enthusiasts that to this day are like, oh, this song would be so much better without the orchestra. But there's a lot of people, myself included, that think Phil Spector was definitely right. So here's the deal. Years later, meaning like not even that long ago, the Beatles released a version of the album Let It Be called Let It Be Naked. What they did was they basically took the entire Let It Be album and took all the Phil Spector instrumentation wall of sound out of it, so it's what the Beatles had written. So I'll play you guys some from the original with the Phil Spector wall of sound, and then I'll play you guys a little bit of this from Let It Be Naked without it, and see what you guys think.
Try, but still they lead me back.
I don't know, it's up to you guys. Personally, I like the Phil Spector version. I think he was a genius, but, you know, Paul McCartney still to this day hates that version of the song. So that's all I got. Tune in next time for more Music History with Steve.